Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Power of Story podcast. If you are tuning in on Thrive After Sports, thank you for being here with us as well. We have a very special guest today, a man that I've had the pleasure of connecting with. I guess about a month ago is when we connected. I'm here today with Mr. Rob Emmerich, the Director of Athletics at Stony Brook University, my alma mater. What's going on, Rob?
Hey, good afternoon, Tosh. Great to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you for being here. I'm excited for listeners to tune in based off the conversation that you and I had a few weeks ago. Definitely want to give some insight into your road to becoming director of athletics, but also talk about some of the positive changes that are happening, not just at Stony Brook, but around the country. I'm a little biased. I think Stony Brook's doing an excellent job, not just because I graduated from there.
Me too.
That's right. Before we dive in, Rob, can you just give the audience a little bit of background about yourself and just a quick introduction so they can get to know a little bit more about you?
Sure, I've been very fortunate. You and I talked a month ago or so. I'm very fortunate to be here. I'm a Long Island native, grew up right here, 10 miles from the Stony Brook campus. And for as long as I can remember, I've been a very high achiever and looked to do well in school. But I love sports. And I really knew when I was growing up that I'd like to pursue a career in sports. So I went off to college. I thought it was a Jerry Maguire type of role that I would pursue as when I was in college, but I pivoted. And I pivoted due to some of the experiences I had on the campus of Cornell University. And it soon became very obvious to me that I really loved being involved in the games. I really loved being involved in the athletic department, and that sports law was not really where I wanted to go. So that really was a big change for me when I was an undergraduate. And I started to say, wait a second, there's a different road for me to take here. And one that I think will really align well with my passion. So that's where it directed. And I did a lot of the things that folks in our business do upon graduation is internships, right? Work for free, volunteer here, and event management companies with the Mets and different things like that to set myself up, which really set me on the road, which was a graduate assistantship here at Stony Brook. And I got my master's degree. Following my master's degree, went back to my alma mater, worked there for a bit, and then was fortunate to come back. And when I did come back to work here at Stony Brook as an assistant director of communications, I was very, very lucky that when I came here, there happened to be a lot of very, very passionate people together here at Stony Brook at one time who believed in the place, the university, and its potential, especially on the athletic side. 5 of those people have gone on to be Division I ADs at other places and various other roles as coaches and executives across the country. So I was very fortunate to work with a great group of folks to push our career forward. And 6 months after I was here, I became a director of communications. And then 24 years later, here I am as the deputy director of athletics under Sean Hilbrun, which is a real pleasure to work for. And Sean is is one of the best ADs in the country and a star in the business. So we're very, very fortunate. I've had the opportunity to start on the communication side and at various levels of my career progressed to overseeing all of the, what we call in the business, the external side of intercollegiate athletics, which includes marketing, fundraising, tickets, communications, so corporate sales. So I kind of oversee that particular area of our operations. And I'm very, very lucky to be here. I am the father of 2. Met my wife here. My kids were born across the street at the hospital. This is a tremendous university, as you know, and a tremendous place to be right here on the North Shore of Long Island. So that is my quick story, and it is a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, Rob, thank you for sharing that. First and foremost, I think it's really great how you detailed, you didn't just wake up and become a director of athletics. There was a long road. You put in a lot of work. Like you said, you had to work for free sometimes. Was this your ultimate goal, or did you just kind of, because I know you said the thought process started out with, I know I want to work in athletics, sports law wasn't really your type of thing. Was becoming a director of athletics your actual long-term plan, or did it just kind of happen,
No,
through trial and error?
it kind of happened. Initially, like I said, I think it was Jerry Maguire with the ultimate goal of being the general manager of the New York Mets. I'm still waiting for the call for them to give me, the heads up they wanted me to come and run the team. But my goal, if I had to say I had a goal when I was young, was to be the general manager of the New York Mets. That's my lifelong team there. But what happens is, and again, I would say this is a lot like probably any career in life. You have to really be open to what you're presented and pursue things. And maybe you do take a pivot. Very very often life isn't a straight path to where you think you want to go. And I was open to that. I was very fortunate. I think I took, in many cases, the road not taken in a career that I pursued. I went to school at an Ivy League institution, very, very competitive, obviously. And I remember for years after graduation, going back to reunions and the competitiveness of comparing notes, right? Somebody was in law school, somebody was working on Wall Street, and somebody had made a lot of money, and here I was volunteering at XYZ company or making $30 a day driving into Shea Stadium to work for the Mets. And there was that inherent pressure of, am I doing the right thing? Am I pursuing the right career? Is this the right thing to do? Am I going to be able to make it? And, those self-doubts and those questioning of, am I doing the right thing, are very, very common. And I just remembered being steadfast and, I'm going to make it. We're going to make it. We're going to see this through. We'll put in the time, we'll work hard, and we'll get to the end of the road in a way that I think will be very, very fulfilling. And it's funny now, you fast forward 10 years from then or 15 years, and I have so many of those same friends at the time that seemingly were ahead of where I was at the time that said, man, I wish I would have done something like you. I have a good job, but I really don't love it. Or, tell me more about what you're doing. It sounds exciting. And I'm so glad I stuck with it. And at times, it's not immediate success. And if I had to say one of the things that I would recommend for everyone is having the patience to pursue what you love, patience to pursue a career, and patience to get there and enjoy the journey along the way. So many of us, I see so many young people today, they want to be a director of athletics. They graduated last year and want to be a director of athletics in 12 months. It's just very, very rare that you see that happen. In fact, it never happens. So there's got to be some patience along that road. And I'm very glad I stuck to it. So it wasn't the path I thought I'd go, but boy, oh boy, I'm glad I did.
I'm gonna be honest with you, Rob. We could end the interview right there just because there was so much value that you just gave. I mean, you just gave the entire blueprint and the recipe. And I love that you touched on there a lot of people, and this is not to knock them. I think we live in kind of an instant gratification culture. So just like you said, I deal with a lot of athletes too who come to me and they want to, be a director of athletics next year, after graduating. And what you just outlined is so important. Not only the patience, being willing to serve, add value first, being persistent, not just saying, oh, this hasn't worked out this past year, 2 years, or 3 years. I'm just going to go in a totally different direction and give up on it. The persistence and the staying open that you touched on too, I think is so important, because you might have one idea in mind, but staying open allows you to pivot, but still stay on the same track, which gets you ultimately where you want to be. So I definitely appreciate all of that.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I recommend too, it's just that, especially with the way people are taking care of themselves, with how long they're living, I know there's this inherent pressure to pursue a career and make money and get an apartment or a house and do those different things. But boy, you could go from 22 to 30 or 22 to 32, and you're still young, very, very young. So it doesn't have to all be figured out. So you might say, hey, I saw Rob and, I liked his path to get to be a deputy AD, and maybe I'd pursue that. But if you didn't like it after 2 or 3 years and you thought, hey, maybe it's better as a strength coach, or maybe it's better as a on the field coach, you can still do that. And changing, there's still plenty of time. And I can't emphasize the patience in letting things evolve, patience in becoming the best version of yourself, and figuring that out. It's okay. I don't have to tell you, because I like what Rob does, is that, well, I got to do what he does, and be the best version of you and figure that out along the way. That's one of the greatest gifts we have as administrators, is try to help young men and women be the best version of themselves, right? They're young men and women who come here to pursue a degree. They have this great crucible of athletics to learn all of these life lessons and the challenges that come along with it. Be and become the best version of yourself. That's a process. That's a journey. That's not an overnight thing. I'm 52 years old and I'm still learning how to be the best version of myself. That never ends. And that process of growing and learning and evolving never stops. And I just would caution young folks just to say, I need to be this by 24. I need to be this by 25. If I'm not this by 30, I'm a failure. That's not true. that's just not true. There are plenty of people that will help you, plenty of people that will guide you, but ultimately you can get there. Just have some patience and work hard, and you can get there.
That is such phenomenal advice, Rob. I thank you for sharing that, because we even had a recent episode where I was sharing with people that I was so afraid to turn 30. I just turned 30 a few weeks, or I guess over a month ago now, but I just felt like I had to have everything figured out, kind of like you're saying, by 30. And you and I both know athletes, like you said, who, when they come out of college, they think they have to have it figured out right away. And that causes some scrambling, which I'm sure you see, like scrambling to just, I got to do something just so I could say I have a job or I'm making money. And they're not able to exercise that patience that you're talking about. So that's such an important message. I appreciate you sharing that. I want to get to, and I know you wear many different hats, Rob. I know
Yes.
you have, you do many different things in Stony Brook. Let's not get confused about that for
That's
anybody
part of the
listening.
deal.
Yes, sir. But what I want to speak to you about specifically is some of the changes that I've noticed. I graduated in 2013. And I'd say, honestly, really the past 3 or 4 years, obviously, there's some great staff over there who I'm connected with now. What are some of the changes that you've seen as far as Stony Brook preparing athletes for life after graduation, and specifically student athletes' life after their sport?
Yeah, right around when you were graduating there, we had known for quite some time that we had to create a career development office, preparing folks for life after school. We call it Life Skills here. I think we may rebrand that a little bit. And creating that sort of came right not long after you graduated. And so that's so important, right? I mean, there's these, the education of going to school and taking classes and earning a degree in your major. But there are things that we need to learn about life. The simplest things about interviewing for a job, writing a resume. How do you do it? Can you find an internship? I think it's a lot different than when I graduated school. There was a lot of stock in where you earned a degree from. You got your bachelor's, earned a degree, you sent your resume in, applied for a job. I think that experiential learning now has come to the forefront of learning at undergraduate institutions. So it's a degree, and did you intern with someone? Do you have some life experience in this particular field? Of course, that helps you establish connections, and then you get a recommendation or a reference. So helping young men and women navigate through that, preparing them for life after college. We create a checklist for them all throughout their college career, freshmen, sophomore, junior, and seniors now, for them to check off in the preparation for when they get to graduation and earn their degree, that they know how to write a resume, that they know they've gone through the mock interview process, they've gone to a career night, and avail themselves of the resources that are on campus to prepare them for life after college. It's a scary thing. Many of the athletes that come here, their identity has very much been an athlete for a lot of their lives, right? They've been done very well in their respective sports. And then if they graduate and maybe don't get to go pro or don't get to pursue that career after that, then what happens? What is their identity? There are other identities, there are other things out there other than just sports. We want to make sure they're taking a look at that and availing themselves of preparing themselves for life after college in that pursuit. So Izzy Fortuna runs our life skills office, and SWA, Deb DeJong, and helping out there and preparing our student athletes for that. Obviously, the last year or so has been extremely challenging for everybody, but really putting a lot of emphasis into that and the offshoots that come along with it. I mean, mental health is in a much different spot than it was 10 years ago. We often, student athletes come, the pressures that come along with performing on and off the field. And you think about, well, we know how they're doing in the classroom, if they're doing well on the field, or if they turn an ankle or twist an ankle, we tape an ankle. But more and more, and rightly so, we're talking about, are they doing okay? How's the mental health? That's something that hasn't been spoken about for quite some time, and now is at the forefront. And how's everybody doing? Everybody comes from different life experiences, different family backgrounds, and sometimes it's okay to ask for help. We all need help. We've all needed help in our life, and providing that support, as well as that career and that life development support, is important to really rounding out and taking a holistic view of a student athlete.
Yeah, it's been really great to see, Rob. And, like I said at the beginning, I'm a little biased because Stony Brook is my alma mater. But at the same time, I have to say I've had conversations with I won't name any schools, but I've had conversations with different people around the country and athletic departments. And I'm not really seeing the emphasis put on this the same way. what I mean by that is, I think first of all, the hiring, and I don't know who's in charge of that. You may have something to do with that, but when you talk about Isidro, when you talk about Debbie, these are people who I've had the pleasure of connecting with as well. And I think they're not just there to do a job; they actually care, and I think that shows through in the type of work they're doing. It makes me excited thinking about if I had these resources available to me, and it sounds like I just missed it in
Just missed it.
2017.
And
Just missed it.
just missed it.
That's all right. It turned out fine. It
You
took me
turned
a
out all right.
while. It took some time. It took me, but yeah, it's just exciting to see because I think about even with like the checklist, right? That's something that I wanted to touch on because when Izzy invited me to come speak for the to the students in the life skills course, and I saw that checklist, it was so detailed, and the students are incentivized to do that to get credits, which is cool because they're doing it to earn credits and pass the class, but it's also helping them not just when they graduate or after they graduate, but well into the future, developing some of those habits. So that's what
Yeah,
excites me. Mhm.
yeah, to get them to think about their future. I mean, often, they get conditioned isn't the right word, but they're often just worried about the next day, right? You get up the next day, I've got this class, I've got practice, I'm going to go to strength and conditioning, and then there's the next day, and then there's a game this weekend, and then and so very easily, anybody who's gone off to school and all of a sudden you land on campus as a freshman and it's Christmas and your first semester is over, right? And then all of a sudden the year ended and I'm a sophomore. And so without thinking about your future, or at least doing some preparatory work and creating a checklist or creating something that they're thinking about, and it seems far away as a freshman, right? I think about a career that's way off. It's not that far. Any one of us who's gone to school, it knows how fast it goes, and knows how fast it goes, and to be thinking about at least push them in the right direction to set the course for success following school.
Yeah, it really is a beautiful thing, Rob. Like you said, you are often kind of tunnel vision as not kind of, you are tunnel vision as an athlete. You just, how am I going to get through this day with practice and film and travel? So the fact that this work is being intentionally done and they're getting credit for it and it's getting carved out, I think that's hugely important. And I had freshmen when I came in to interact with the student athletes for one of the classes. There were freshmen asking questions about, what would you do if you were a freshman right now? How would you be getting prepared for your career? And that's really exciting to think about. So yeah, we could go on and on about that. I'm curious to know what are some of is there anything upcoming that you can share? Any upcoming projects related to student athletes in that department, meaning preparing for life after sports, or just anything else that you want to share?
Yeah,
Exciting coming up.
Yeah, Does one of the things that's very important in the college landscape now is name, image, and likeness. You've heard a lot of this out there in the talk about how this is going to be unfolded. So really, the education process, the implementation process, even the NCAA hasn't landed on exactly how they're going to implement it. I think Mark Emmerich put it out there July 1, they're going to unveil what the rules are and how we're going to do this at the NCAA level. There are many states throughout the country that have instituted and proposed legislation in their particular states on how it's going to get implemented. Our boss, Sean Hilburn, is on the NCAA committee that is working on this. It's much more complicated than it seems, but the timing is right now, right? Student athletes should be able to benefit from their name, image, and likeness. It's been well documented, the benefits of that and how it works and how it gets rolled out. So being able to educate our student athletes on what that means for them, should they be able to avail themselves of this, and the different parts of how they will avail themselves of it, everything from earning money and what that means, right? And tax implications, and how is an athletic department going to help support that in a way to provide education so the student athlete knows how best to maximize that opportunity for himself or herself going forward. So that's going to be a very interesting evolution and unveiling for college athletic departments across the country. So we are very much attuned to that. We are embracing it. We signed with Teamworks and Influencer to help that and be able to create an avenue for student athletes to develop and enhance their own brand and take advantage of that space. But there's going to be a lot of nuances to it that we'll have to work through, not only as an institution, but as an NCAA member, to make sure we do this the right way for our student athletes.
Yeah, that's
It's going to be
definitely.
a game changer. It's a game changer for college athletics.
Oh yeah, in so many different ways. And I can just tell by talking to you, Stony Brook's once again going to be at the forefront of that, making sure the student athletes are taken care of, educated, equipped, as well as the staff. What's next for you, Rob? I know you're in a great place right now in your career, but anything you can share as far as, what you're looking at moving forward, anything on the
No, it's
horizon?
a great question. I always have your eye on the horizon. It wouldn't hurt to be a boss one day, but I have a great job. My wife's got a great job. We live in a very terrific place here in Long Island. My goal is to really position our program for success now and down the road. I've been here long enough to say, okay, look where we've come from when we moved from a Division III institution to a Division I institution, and keeping the eye on the ball for not only what's tomorrow, but what do we look like 5 and 10 years down the road, and how do we position ourselves that way? The landscape is ever evolving. You might have kept up to the recent news. Hartford, who's in our league, just announced they're going and down to the Division III level. So that's a shock to the system for member institutions in our conference. So we don't want to be that, right? So how do you set the course for what we look like 5 and 10 years from now? And that's really what my focus is as I look through it through the external lens, right? So that everything from a fundraising perspective, a marketing perspective, and how do we engage the community, both internal and external, to help move the institution? I mean, Stony Brook is a very big state institution here. As you know, there's 27,000 students and there's 40 or 50,000 people on campus every day when it's normal. And really positioning our athletic department to showcase our great university under the leadership of our new president, Maury McGinnis, who comes from down your way, down at the University of Texas, down there. She's just, she'll wrap up our first year this summer. And really position our athletic department to showcase our wonderful university and hospital going forward. So I think it's an exciting time for us, and I'm looking forward to being a big part of it.
Yeah, that's awesome, Rob. You've already given so much advice to kind of student athletes as they're coming out and graduating, but I think it would be helpful, because I know you could come up with something great for this. For those athletes right now who may be listening and they're having a hard time, they're struggling, they don't know which way to turn next. Is there any advice that you could share with them for how to start putting yourself in position to learn where you want to go, and then start charting down that path, like you said, and being patient and consistent?
I was thinking about, some of the things I say: be patient, have humility, persevere, because it doesn't always have to happen right away, but be practically optimistic, right? So I want be thoughtful and optimistic about where you want to go, but make sure you're taking the steps to get there. It's not just going to happen if you want to play professional football, if you want to work in the financial realm. Make sure you're trying to take steps to get yourself there and try those things. And I think you can get there. I said before to you, and I think having that patience is big. And I really, I think of three things when I talk to the student athletes. I supervise two teams here: women's lacrosse, which has been amazingly successful under Joe Spallina, and men's soccer. And the things that I tell the student athletes are to work hard, and work hard in everything you do. A lot of times student athletes come here and they think they know what working hard is. I'm not sure you do when you're that age, right? Because you think of working hard as I'm lifting weights and I'm running fast. Work hard on being a great teammate. Work hard on being a great friend. Work hard on being a great brother or sister or son or daughter. Work hard in everything you do. That pursuit of working hard makes you better. That's in that pursuit of the best version of yourself. Trust that process. The process, you have to lean into it a little bit. And I think if you can and have the patience to go along with it, you'll get there to where you want to be. And then lastly, take care of each other. I think when you say, if you had to say something to student athletes, ask somebody. It's okay to ask somebody for help. Hey, what did you do to get to where you are? What kind of network do you have? Take care of each other. Those anxieties that you're feeling, those self-doubts, chances are the person next to you felt the same thing, or the person that you admire in the role in an office building or in a professional organization had those same self-doubts and had to overcome. Believe it or not, people there are willing to help you get to where you are. Lean on them. Call Tosh, call somebody that you know, and ask them. They're more than willing. They're gonna help you. And don't fight that battle alone, right? In this world, we need each other. We need to put our arms around each other. We need to take care of each other. And we can do that. Don't pursue that by yourself and feel like I don't want to tell anyone, I'm afraid to ask this, or I don't know this, or I'm not sure if I can do this. You can ask for help, and chances are it'll be there.
Ooh, I should have told everybody to get their notepads out before we started this episode, Rob. This is really great stuff. And I was over here taking notes myself because I think some of the things that you said, I don't want listeners to miss this. You might want to run that back and just listen one more time to what Rob was sharing. Because some of the stuff, like take care of each other. Okay, that sounds simple, right? But if you actually apply that and actually continuously do that, so many great things can happen. That's something that I didn't do, is check on my teammates, to see how they were doing. And I'm talking about after graduation, because like you're saying, Rob, if they're able to start doing this now, this applies to the rest of their lives when they're out in the real world. If they're in the habit of checking in with their teammates now, when they graduate, they can do that and make sure their teammates are doing okay.
No question about it. I mean, think about putting at, how many times have you bumped into somebody who puts out such a great vibe, a great energy? They call you, they text, they thought of you and said, happy birthday, or they thought of you and said, how you doing? I know something went wrong, or how you're doing. You're putting that out and taking care of each other, especially times. How about the last year that we've all gone through as society, from all the things that we could talk about? That would be a whole other podcast, right? That you could talk about taking care of each other and looking out for one another. If that hasn't come into our forefront, to think about how we can do that with each other to get through and show the humanity to each other. I know, like I told you, I've learned so much in the last year how I can be a better administrator. All the social justice issues, all of those things that have come into our space. Boy, oh boy, it's been a learning year for us here as well, to make us better together. And I can't emphasize enough to take care of each other, lift each other up. Chances are, we tell our student athletes, you're sitting there, people have been through breakups, people have been through tragic events, people lean on each other. They're there, right? They're there to help. And we need to do that for each other, because we all go through tough times. We all do. And I can't emphasize enough to pick each other up and get us and keep pushing us forward. We can get there together.
That's right. I love it. Yeah, Rob. Something else I wrote down is, another thing that sounds simple, easier said than done. Work hard in everything you do. And that advice right there is something that, it sounds good in theory, but until you actually do it, then that's when you really see the results. I had a guy who I was coaching a couple of weeks ago, and he just graduated. And I was telling him the same thing, because he's like, hey, I'm not getting any job opportunities. I have a business idea, but nothing's taken off. And so we took a deep dive into his schedule. He's sleeping in till 10 or 11, playing Xbox for several hours a night. I'm like, look, man, you were up at 5 a.m. lifting weights. You got to take that same work ethic and apply it to everything else you do for the rest of your life. Right. So work hard in everything you do. Sounds simple, but easier said than done.
I'm a dad. I'm a dad. There are times when I leave here and there was a game, and I get to my son and spend some time with his homework. I'm trying to spend time with my daughter. I might my Long Island accent. My daughter to because she's got spelling tests on Friday. So we now have a routine where we practice her words, to make sure I'm being the best dad I can be. And you come up short there sometimes. Did I reach out to my siblings? Did I call my parents? Am I the best supervisor I could be here? Am I attuned to the needs? When you're in a supervisory position, right? It's never about me. It's always about the staff that I work with, right? It's incumbent upon me to make sure they have the resources to be successful in their position, to be successful. So I have to make sure they're doing all right too. That's my most important job here, right? My most important job is worrying about my staff. And are they in a great position to be successful? Are they doing all right? If you get to know them well enough, when there's a vibration that's a little off. So let's check in. Let's pop in and say hello. Let's see, how's everyone doing? You can tell. Maybe I need to talk to her today, or that other guy today, just to check in, because something seems a little off. And I think those are the things we could do, and just being intentional and conscious of working hard in everything we do. Because we think of working hard, we lift the weights, we went for a run, we ran up the mountain quick. but work hard and everything. Have you been a great brother? Have you been a great son? Have you been a great, am I still working at those things too? And I think it makes me be intentional about those things as well. And if I given of my staff, and those folks are so important to our organization and to me. It's important that I do that.
So good, Rob. Okay, I have one final question for you
Sure.
as we start to kind of close it out a little bit. Um, I know you're gonna live, another 52 years,
Yes.
especially being
Let's
out
hope
there
so.
next to that.
Let's hope so.
You got that Stony Brook Medical Center out there. They'll
Yeah.
take good care of you. You're gonna break the 100 mark. But when you're no longer here, what do you want the legacy of Rob Emmerich to be? How do you want to be remembered for who you were on this planet?
That's a great question. Boy, oh boy, that, you know, I am, it's hard, in this business, it's easy to be self-promoting, right? Because in the business, you have a tendency to say, I did this and I did that, and I was responsible for this, so you can get the next thing. Um, I hope that people would remember me as a great colleague, a great dad, someone who cared deeply and was passionate about Stony Brook. And while he was here, left a very good mark that had a lasting legacy on the program and the student athletes that came after it. For me, that I'm amazed. These young people keep me young. So some of the folks that were here when I first started, I remember them, and now I've gone to their weddings and seen them as adults and their own children. And it's, I feel like what happened here. Time is passing, and but boy, oh boy, I would love to just remember a great colleague, a great friend, a great dad, and someone who left his mark on Stony Brook and cared deeply about the place. And we are very fortunate to be here. We are caretakers of this great institution while we sit and work here, and to pass it along and make it better while we're here for the next person that comes along after us, because there will be a next person, and we're going to make it better, and we'll hand it off when it's time to go to the next person. And I hope they say, wow, they did a great job while they were here, and left it in a better place. I'll take the baton and keep going. And that would be a nice way to leave it and be remembered. It's not about me. I'm not a big ego guy, and I did this and I did that. I'd be more proud to when I'm retired on the beach. Maybe I'll be down by you, retired on the beach, to be watching and be proud of the legacy and watching teams win and the success that comes to Stony Brook after we have left it. There are a lot of people who have contributed to it. I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, the amazing people that have had the opportunity to work with over the years, and they've gone on to great things. And this university is very fortunate that they were here at the time they were, and they've left an indelible mark. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, that's awesome. The great part about that question, Rob, is I love asking people that question because the answer is often already something they've accomplished. You've already, everything you listed that you want to do, you've already done it, and you're just going to continue to build on it and build on it. So that's a beautiful thing. I just want to acknowledge you for a second. I think I told you this the first time we connected. It's great to have conversations with people who in athletic departments who get it and are actively trying to help the student athletes and not just there to do a job. And you're one of those people, and I can tell that you have such a good heart. You actually care. You're a people person, and you actually do care about your legacy, like you said. And so, like I said at the beginning, it makes me really happy to know that people like yourself are around the world, and especially on the campus like Stony Brook, and helping the athletes out. So thank you for all the work that you do. I'm grateful to have connected with you. I'm excited for the work that we're going to be doing together in the future. I'm excited for you to check out my book, which I just
I
shipped
will
out
see
to you
that. I'll be sure to
yesterday.
read it. Yeah.
Yeah, I sent it
And same
yesterday.
to
So
you,
yeah.
Taj. I mean, the work you're doing with people, you're helping your fellow man, you're helping other human beings. And that is, I can't tell you, I just think so highly of that and the work that you're doing as well. And it's much appreciated, making our alma mater proud, right? So I think it's great work that you're doing as well. We're here in service of these student athletes. They're at the center of what we do. And I come from a family of educators. My mom and dad were teachers. Two of my siblings are teachers. My wife is a teacher. I can go on and on, right? So I'm at a school here too. So we have this amazing ability to help the growth of young people and have an impact on others' lives. And I don't think there's anything too much more powerful than that, helping other people. I think it's a great and tremendous responsibility to have.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Thank you for your kind words too, Rob. Definitely appreciate that.
Welcome. Thank you.
Before we get out of here, I know that you're already a busy man, so you don't have to give your email address or you don't have to share any of that. But if there's any way that people can get in touch with you, or maybe you're on social media, how should people get in touch with you or
Sure.
just follow
My
your
email
journey?
address, it's okay. It's Robert
All right.
at stonybrook.edu. It's really easy. My last name is EMM, two M's as in Michael, ERICH at stonybrook.edu. I'm on Twitter. I'm not a big tweeter. I'm a big retweeter. I like something, I'll retweet it. And that's at Rob Emmerich. So I think that is a platform. I'm always just a little, that's my own uneasiness there. I'm always worried about that send, and you send something that was misspelled or something like that. But I'm trying. So the folks down the hall help keep me young. They coach me a little bit in that area, but it's been an absolute pleasure to be with you this afternoon. And I can't thank you enough for the work that you're doing and your interest in staying in touch with us and helping our alma mater. And it's terrific.
Yeah. Thank you, Rob. Thank you again for your time. I'm going to let you go, be respectful of your time, but thank you again for coming on and sharing with the audiences on the power of story and Thrive After Sports. This has been phenomenal. Everybody, Rob gave out his email address. So if there's any way, if you want to get in touch with him to ask for advice or anything like that, make sure you reach out. He's an awesome guy, as you can already tell by listening to this interview. Rob, thank you again for coming on.
Thank you, Tosh.
Everyone. Yes, sir. This has been another great episode of the Power of Story and Thrive After Sports with Mr. Rob Emmerich. We will see you next time.